It is here. Rivalry Week has finally arrived, as this is the best week of the entire year. We have a stacked Friday and Saturday slate, 48 straight hours of ball. Let's talk about it. So again, the Buckeyes come into this game as big time favorites, not as big as last year, but still 9.5, 10.5 point favorites. It opened at 11.5. It climbed down a little bit. Ohio State analytically majorly favored in this at 78.2% over the Wolverines. So this is where Big Noon Kickoff is. This is where game day is. There's not much I can say more about this game other than that it is the game. It is the best rivalry in all of sports. And I have been waiting. If you see what I am wearing, if you see what's behind me, you can see what I have been through and what I am waiting to see this Saturday. So we're going to go completely in depth this one. I'm going to take my time. So this is going to be a long ass video, I think. But I have a lot of notes, a lot of statistics up. So let's talk about kind of what some of the story of this game. So obviously coming off of what the game was last year, you lose at home. It was the perfect storm. It was your entire team played bad. Maybe not your defense. Your defense played well. Well, your linebackers and safeties played, and your corners played well. Your defensive line did not play well. They didn't get a single sack all game. Your offensive line was terrible. Will Howard got a concussion early in the second quarter, and what was leading up to maybe a Devin Brown legacy game. He could have maybe become a Buckeye legend. They put Howard back out there. They gave back him his helmet, and obviously you know what happens. He throws 2 interceptions, or maybe the first one came before the concussion. And on Cam Hayward's podcast, he just admitted that he was pretty banged up, which we knew. But it's good to kind of hear it from him directly. From Will Howard. And the kind of big story coming into this game is since 2000, the person who has the more rushing yards has won this game. Every year for the past 25 years, I guess 24 if you don't include COVID. Or 20, I guess it'd be 23 years since this one hasn't been played yet. I don't believe in that statistic. And if you read Bill Lubinowitz's book, Buckeye Brotherhood, which I'm still wanting to buy and get, maybe I will, maybe I won't. Mitchell Melton, who is now I think he's at Virginia. I think he was a linebacker. I think he was a defensive tackle or an edge rusher. He said in the meeting, obviously the player-led meeting that we all had, that he told Ryan Day, "What have you learned the past 2 years?" And I think this was before last year's game. And he said, whoever wins the rushing battle wins this game, which has been true. It's factual. It's been true. I don't believe in that because, and this is actually what Mitchell Melton said. He said that's usually because the side that is winning, they slow down drives, slow down the clock, and run the ball. So when you have that, it makes sense. This has been a one-sided rivalry. It's been like both sides have won, but it's not back and forth. It is streaks. This rivalry happens in streaks. I think that's just because the mental side of it is whenever you lose one, you get into a habit of losing, or when you win, you get into a habit of winning until someone breaks it. It's very hard to break that. Ryan Day, obviously, you've seen that. Jim Harbaugh struggled with that forever. He had to cheat to break it. That's how bad it was for them. But I don't really believe in that statistic because look at 2018 and 2019. It was, J.K. Dobbins went crazy in 2019, but you didn't have to run the ball more than they did. Like think about it. Ohio State, late into Urban's career, which was basically when Day has been present in the program, it has been a passing team. Before him, it was a running team. But when Day was here, it was a passing team. So you pass for 400, 500 yards, 300, 500 yards. And then the passing team can spread everybody out and then run it up the middle. And that's where you get all the rushing yards from. And Michigan, who is a running team, has always been behind, which forces them to throw. That is why Ohio State doesn't have to run the ball. I don't think you need to outrush Michigan to beat them, because we've been outrushed by a bunch of people. I mean, Texas outgained us in everything, and we still won. It was like a dominating one, too. I get it was only one score at the end, but that game was 14-0. Like with 5.5 minutes left. So I don't believe in that, and it has led Ohio State to get trapped into running the ball. Ohio State is much more talented than Michigan basically every single year except for 23. But Ohio State is not more talented than Michigan in every single position battle. And Ryan Day has made Ohio State play in the only way that benefits them. And that is what's so frustrating. And I don't think we're going to see that. I don't think we're going to see that this year. And part of that is Michigan might be clueless. I mean, since like I'm trying to think, maybe since Penn State, like a month and a half ago. I mean, Matt Patricia has not shown anything on defense. They have been basic defense for the second half of the season. I mean, I don't think Michigan is going to be as clueless as Texas, but like I feel like they are going to be like, I mean, Texas was clueless coming into this game because of new quarterback, both new coordinators. I don't think Moore is getting that much more. So, yeah, I mean, it is so interesting. What is Matt Patricia going to be able to dial up for Sharon Moore and Bryce Underwood? So obviously Bryce Underwood is a very young quarterback. We have actually, I think I would say we have seen development from him since the beginning of the season, early on in the season, especially in that Oklahoma game. It was really clear that Bryce really only had one speed of throwing. He only had one speed or like one place. It was just, I'm going to throw this as hard and as fast as I can and make every throw look like this crazy acrobatic NFL throw. And it was very childish and it was very immature. And you could just tell that, man, he really is a freshman. And I think he has stepped up. I think we have seen different types of speed. He's able to lob it up easier. And he's not just trying to throw it and bullet it every single time. I mean, like, that paired with their drops, I think they have like 19 drops on the year. So I think that has really stifled them from continuing drives. And with Patricia, now, I mean, he's going to put Underwood through hell. I mean, it is going to be, he's not going to have any idea what he's saying. And if we can get pressure, and the biggest knock on Jim Knowles was he never forced a punt against Michigan in the second half ever, and he never forced a punt in the fourth quarter of Michigan ever, Georgia in 22, Oregon in 24, and there was one more. He never forced a punt. Or maybe that was it. But his defense was just god awful sometimes. And that's the reason why Ohio State fans like have problems with Jim Knowles. Is Jim Knowles, I'm like, there were times where it's like, oh my God, your defense is garbage. Get out. Like nobody, it's just, thank God he's gone. I'm so happy he's gone. We have Matt Patricia now. So I think he's going to put Bryce Underwood through the shredder. And that starts with the All-American potential. We're talking about number 1 overall draft pick. Maybe if the Titans are number 1. Arvell Reese, the linebacker from Ohio State, number 8. I mean, they're going to spy him. Bryce Underwood, I mean, they're going to QB contain. That man this kid should never leave the pocket ever. Unless we're fully dropping back into coverage. I mean, there should be no world where he is able to leave the pocket. I mean, he's going to be getting hit hard from Caden Curry, Arvell Reese, Caleb Downs, and obviously Sonny Styles. And talking about the Styles brothers, Lorenzo, and before I even say anything, let me just make sure if I don't think there is any more update on Lorenzo. Yeah, he's currently dealing with a shoulder injury. I don't know if he's going to be playing. He was our starting slot corner, and we've seen a little bit early in the season where they would slide Devin Sanchez into the number 1 5-star cornerback in the class, I think 2025, and it was okay. He's still a freshman, and what they've been doing now is sliding Jermaine, who is the best corner on this team, to the slot, and then putting Devin at the Y, which I don't know if I like, because I want Jermaine outside. I trust Jermaine way more than I trust Devin. Igbenogsen's been better. I do worry about, extracurricular from Davidson Igbenogsen. He's been a lot better this year, but obviously this game, this is the game. There's nothing like this game. So I am cautious. I'll say cautious. I am cautious of Davidson Igbenogsen. And talking about cornerbacks and just back end defense, Caleb Downs and Jalen McLean. We all knew Caleb Downs was going to be what he was, but Jalen McLean really taking that starting position over Malik Hartford, who has now chose the red shirt. He's probably going to transfer. It is just, he is like the unsung hero. We have not missed a beat from Lathan Ransom. I would say Lathan was more of a strong safety. McLean's more of a free safety, which is good because now Caleb can play that typical strong safety position, which allows him to be closer to the line of scrimmage, which, in the Rutgers game, that sack by Caleb Downs, where, he was where the linebackers were, and he kind of just went around and just up and just boom. That was incredible. And it would be good to get a sack because we have not had a sack against these guys. Even last year, their offensive line and quarterback was so bad, and we never forced a sack with that defensive line. That is all Jim Knowles. And our players didn't play well, but I think a lot of that was Jim Knowles. His blitzes were not well timed at all that game. And I fully trust Matt Patricia in this game. So, yeah, that's kind of what I have for that. The question that I think everyone's wondering, can Ohio State pass the mental block? And this is something that we've all talked about before. One thing I said last year is if he loses and win the national title, that's the only way I can forgive Ryan Day. The only way. It was the only way. That national title meant so much. They deserved it a billion times more than any other team. Even Notre Dame, I think. If it wasn't going to be Ohio State, Notre Dame deserved that national title. That's why they got there. But they really needed that. And I always thought, hey, if he wins the national title, he gets the pressure off. He's going to coach this game differently. Because before in the 4 team, if you lose that game, you don't really go to the playoff. 22 is a weird exception because USC got blown out by Utah again in the Pac-12 championship, and they were the team right above us. And that's how we got in 2022 and couldn't capitalize. Again, Jim Knowles. That was all Jim Knowles' fault. CJ Stroud should have a national championship and probably a Heisman. So, yeah. So, can they do it? Orion Day has looked more, he looked more lighthearted. It still feels very similar to last year. I was saying this last year. With the offensive line injuries, I felt that Ohio State was too talented for itself. Having Travion and Quinshon, I felt gave too much confidence for the run game. I thought it was too much confidence. And I felt it allowed Ryan Day to get baited into running the ball when I don't think he could. I don't think they could run the ball very well at all. And I think it kind of let him get baited into what that game plan was. He even said in the press conference, I think on Tuesday before the game, it's like whoever runs the ball more is going to win this game. And he tried to run the ball, it never worked. And I think Dave thought I think Dave was convinced it didn't matter how much we pass. If we don't win the rushing battle, there's no way we're going to win. There's no way. It's impossible, it's not. That's stupid. It's not. It's just before Day, Ohio State and Michigan have been running teams. I don't know if you remember. Michigan's always been a running team. Ohio State was also a running team before. JT Barrett, running quarterback. Braxton Moore, running quarterback. You know what I mean? So, it makes sense. It's just in the past couple years, it's the rushing yards have become in garbage time. The passing yards are what has gotten Ohio State to win. that 8-game streak at the end. And talking about throwing, this is going to come down to Ohio State's receiver health and depth. I don't know if the rest of college football have really noticed. I know Ohio State fans have. This wide receiver core for Ohio State, it is not as deep as everyone thought it was. It's not. It is predominantly Jeremiah Smith, Carnell Tate, big gap. Big gap. Brandon Innes, gap. Mylan Graham, Quincy Porter, gap. Bryson Rogers, gap. Adolph. What was his name? David Adolph, number 82. He played last week against Rutgers for the first time for senior day. So I think this depth is going to get tested. If you watched Caleb Downs' podcast for this week's game, he had Jeremiah Smith on, and Jeremiah said, and even Ryan Day they talked about it in his Wednesday press conference, that we get all our injury updates from the Caleb Downs podcast, Downs to Business, because Jeremiah said on there that it's exclusive interview, that he is good to go. He's going to play. He's probably not 100. I would say he's probably 90%, 85, 90, 95%. But yeah, probably 90. He's probably 90%, which is still incredible. It's still the best receiver in college football. Carnell on the other side, he might only be 70%, 65, 70, maybe 75%. I don't know if he's going to play. It's probably going to be in limited snaps. It looks like the weather has got pushed back. It originally looked like it was going to be 30 degrees, which it still is going to be 30 degrees, 25, 30 degrees, which is warmer than last year. Last year was like 12 or 15. It was gross. And it looks like there's going to be some wind, not too many miles per hour, but the snow has been pushed back from noon to 3 to 4. So you might get snow in the second half or in the fourth quarter, but it looks like the snow is going to be coming after the game, and even the snow that will be coming, it's snow flurries. So that'll be like what it was in 2021, that snow game, but that wasn't a snow game, that was snow flurries. And that was also, the weather in that game, I think, is going to be worse than the weather in this game. I think it's just going to be cold. And I think I saw everyone talking about with Julian saying is like the only time we've ever seen him throw in cold weather was the Tennessee game, and he did not look good. But I mean, that was a year ago. I mean, he's been much improved, and they're practicing in the cold. They know the cold. He's been here for like 2 years, so I trust that he'll be good. But the cold maybe can worsen some injuries. Obviously, if you're injured with like hamstring stuff, you don't want to re-injure that, especially if we're going to be playing the number 2 team in the country next. People won't talk about that. If we beat them, guys, this is going to be number 1 versus number 2. Like, this is the biggest game of the year next week. I mean, obviously, this is the biggest game of the year. But I mean, it's going to be number 1 versus number 2. Obviously, Indiana has to beat Purdue, and I think they will beat Purdue. I'd be surprised if Indiana lost, but yeah, I hope we get there, because if we go there, I'm going to the Big Ten championship game, and I'm so excited. We have to get past this game. And if we lose the Big Ten, if we lose this game, I don't want us to necessarily get a bye, because I'd like to go to another home playoff game if I can't go to the Big Ten championship, and I can't really go to the bowl games because they're on weekdays and there's school and stuff. But we'll see how it goes. Let me just scroll through my notes. So yeah, obviously Big Ten title hopes for both teams. If Ohio State wins, they're in. If Michigan wins, they'll need either Indiana or Oregon to lose. I'm trying to think. Maybe if Michigan wins, Oregon wins, and Indiana loses, I think Indiana might still get in. So they need to win, and Oregon needs to lose if Michigan wants to go to the Big Ten championship game. And honestly, if I'm 10-2, yeah, you beat Ohio State, but let's say you get blown out in the Big Ten championship, that third loss, I mean, that could keep you. I mean, you're not supposed to punish them, but if you look bad, I mean, I don't know. Some stars stepping up. Caden McDonald, I mean, he has elevated himself to being a first-round talent. He is one of the best run-stopping defensive tackles in the entire country. So that matchup between him, Tyler Malone, versus Jordan Marshall, because obviously Justin Haynes is not playing this game, and then Kuzdal, the third-string running back for Michigan, who had 20 carries, 100 yards, and 3 touchdowns last week against Maryland. He looked really good. This game reminds me kind of the Texas-Michigan game last year. Was that last? Yeah, last year. That was when Quentin Ewers, they went up to the big house as slight favorites. It was like number 4 versus number 10, number 3 versus number 10, and they absolutely killed Michigan. Absolutely killed them. So I could see that game. I could see that game playing out here. I think the game in that score was like 31-12, and Texas left a bunch of points, like 14 points on the board, because they played very conservative in the second half. But I'm trying to think, were there any other injuries in this game? Just Haynes is out. There is some talk about Ohio State's offensive line with Josh Padilla, Eric Mansaw, and then someone else. So some backups were injured, so I think maybe you could see a lack of depth. The thing that this Ohio State offensive line has really struggled with is stunts and Tegra. Oh my God, Tegra is just god awful sometimes, and we ran out of time. This was a thing that Michigan won. They already won a battle before this game even happened, and that's Ohio State's offensive line. We had so many. They were experimenting with the offensive line all the time, giving Gabe Van Sickle starts, Ethan Oniawa snaps. You know what I mean? And they've kept Tegra. He hasn't got much better, maybe a little bit better, not by much though. Still is the one weakness of this offensive line, and he is the difference between Bo Jackson only having like 2 or 3 big runs and having like 8. Tegra, I think, is the difference between that. And we don't have time. He's going to start. I don't think Day is going to want to throw out a new offensive lineman for the game. He did it for Penn State last year with Carson Hinsman at guard. So maybe you could see it, but this isn't Penn State. This is Michigan. And we know how much this game matters. And that really, this game is different than that game. I could see this game being similar to that Penn State game. Hopefully not with the pick sixes, because I don't know how they will react to a pick six. So that's kind of some of the storylines coming into this game. Let me talk about some of the statistics. So again, Ohio State, 9.5-point favorites coming into this game. Lost 4 in a row. 2 of those were during cheating, so maybe you only want to count 2, and then they hopped out of 2020. You know what? So let's talk about some of the stats. So Julian Sayin, 2,832 passing yards, 27 touchdowns to 4 interceptions. He has like a 79.4 completion rate. So it just dipped below 80%, and that's obviously because JJ and Carnell have not been there the past couple of weeks, especially Carnell. JJ's kind of been in and out. Bo Jackson, fumble at the goal line last week against Rutgers. You cannot do that. There was like 4 fumbles last week. I think you only lost 1, but Brandon Innes fumbled. Remember when they threw the backwards pass on the punt? Max Clare fumbled. Lincoln Keenholz fumbled. He was already down. Like, everyone's fumbling. Can't have that. But he is almost a 1,000-yard rusher. He will be a 1,000-yard rusher by the end of the season. James Peoples has really came a long way. I mean, the hurdle against UCLA, the big run versus Rutgers at the end. Jeremiah Smith, obviously we all know him. I mean, he is almost to 1,000 yards. He needs 98 more, which I think he'll get in this game to get to 1,000. We'll see how much they double him. Obviously, if Carnell is not in the game, they're going to double him. So you need Carnell, even as a decoy. You just need him in. Has over 700 yards rushing, receiving, 7 touchdowns, and he actually has way more. Like, his yards per catch is 18.2 compared to Jeremiah's 13.1. Max Clare, 38 receptions, 4 touchdowns, and 2 touchdowns. Or 38 receptions, 400 yards, and 2 touchdowns. One came last week against Rutgers, and the one before that, I think, came against Ohio. I think maybe he had that. Maybe it was Bennett Christian. I don't remember. Brandon Innes has had 2 touchdowns. He's kind of stepped up. Mylan Graham not Mylan Graham. Oh my goodness. Bo Jackson. Stepping over my thoughts. Bo Jackson has emerged as a decent running back out of the backfield. He has 13 receptions, 138, and a receiving touchdown. And then obviously the tight ends have been good with Kazmarek, Max Clare, Bennett Christian, Jelani Thurman, and Nate Roberts. We'll probably see Nate Roberts at fullback again. But yeah, Caleb Downs great. We obviously know him. Best defense of the country, only allowing 7.6 points a game, which is by far number one. I think Indiana's 2 with like 12.6 or 12.1 or something. So going to the other side, the dark side, Michigan. Bryce Underwood, 2,166 passing yards. They've never seen a freshman like me. He has Jamarcus Russell stats, like 9 touchdowns to 5 interceptions. What is his completion rate? 62%. So not horrible, but not great. Jordan Marshall is their leading rusher. Obviously, that's because Haynes has been out and he's out for the year, which is unfortunate. He has 10 touchdowns, and obviously he is not as explosive as Justice Haynes, but he is still a very good running back. And actually, he was throwing some shots yesterday and today on an interview talking about how when he was being recruited by Ohio State, he should have went to Ohio State, man. I wish he went to Ohio State. Tony Alford was there, and when he left to go to Michigan, Tony Alford was not a good running back coach. I mean, he had incredible talent, and the past couple, when Travion at the end and Mad Williams, it's just like they never looked good. So I'm Carlos Lockhart is definitely a step up from him. But I'm not gonna lie, he has been decent at Michigan. Michigan it seems like same like how Ohio State always gets good receivers. Michigan always gets good running backs. They just got Savion Hyder, the number 1 running back in, I think, next year's class, the 5-star. But yeah, he was throwing shots saying that there was people at Ohio. He liked Tony Alford, but he did not like anybody else. And then they're like dissing Ohio State, like, I'd be like, look at me, we don't like Ryan Day. It's like, well, buddy, you got fired, or you left to go to Michigan, but. Okay. Andrew Marsh, the freshman receiver, he is a serious threat. He is the best receiver they've had since not Samaj Morgan. Samaj Morgan's terrible. Not even Michigan fans like Samaj Morgan. He's the best receiver they've had probably since Roman Wilson. I think he's better than Roman Wilson. I don't think Roman Wilson was very good. But I would say he's probably the best receiver since Nico Collins that they've had. Obviously Nico Collins is a great receiver. D Moore, their edge rusher, 9.5 sacks. He's been good. Ernest Hausman is back with the team. He will be playing this game. And yeah, so that's kind of their side of the stuff. How many rushing yards did Justice Haynes have before he left? 857 and 10 touchdowns. So yeah, he was going to be, he was their number 1 back. Unfortunate that he's gone. So let's talk about some of the matchups and which side prefers what. So quarterback, hardly in Ohio State. Running back, I'm going to say wash. I think if you included Justice Haynes, I would lean towards them, but since they don't have Justice Haynes, it's Jordan Marshall, Kuz Dahl versus Bo Jackson, Iowa's James Peoples, CJ Donaldson. I'm going to say it's a wash. Receiver, hardly in Ohio State. Tight end, I'm going to say slightly lead Ohio State. That room is super deep, and Max Clare is one of the best tight ends in the country. But Calvin Klein is, or Colin Klein, whatever his name is, he is still a very good tight end. So I'll say slightly to Ohio State. Offensive line, I'll say also slightly to Ohio State. It is probably still very similar. They're pretty close. I'll say almost a wash. Defensive line, I will say slightly to Ohio State. That defensive line has stepped up, but Michigan still has a good defensive line. They obviously lost Mason Graham, Kenneth Grant, and Josiah Stewart from last year, but they still have a good defensive line with TJ Guy and some other people. Linebackers, one of the easiest one. It's Ohio State. They have 2 top 5 linebackers in the entire country. Arbor might be the number 1 overall pick. Sonny Styles will probably be a first-round talent. That is the best linebacker room in the entire country. Cornerbacks, again, pretty easy one Ohio State. Then safeties, pretty easy one Ohio State. So I would say pretty much everything leans. And does anything actually lead Michigan? No. Kicker, yeah. Zavada is better. Well, I'll say slightly Michigan for the kicker. Kicker's the only thing they're actually better than Ohio State then. But a lot of it is pretty close though. And obviously if something happens to Julian Sand, if they want to take him out of the game or, twist his ankle up, which that's what I'm so worried about. They're going to twist up Jeremiah's ankle and take him out of the game. And it's sure you get a 15-yard penalty, but it's like, Jeremiah Smith he might win or lose you the game. He's not going to lose you the game, but without him, you could lose. He might be the thing that overturns the game. That's what he is. He should be the Heisman. He should win the Heisman. He's the best player in the country. It's not particularly close. Jaden Fielding for Ohio State, the kicker. Obviously, they brought in Jackson Corvell. I'm trying to remember where Jackson Corvell, I think he came. I don't remember where he came from, but he was a kicker that could hit from 50. He's only kicked 4 extra points. He's never kicked a field goal this year. Jaden Fielding has never hit a 50-yarder. Ohio State hasn't hit a 50-yard field goal in, I think, 6 years. But Jaden Fielding isn't missing an extra point. He's 13-15. There's much improved from last year. He's 3 for 3 from 40 to 49, 6 for 7 from 30 to 39, 20 to 29 for 4 for 4 from 20 to 29 yards, and then he has not attempted one under 19. So 86.7% completion rate or kicking rate for him. He was the one that really lost you the game last year. He missed 2 crucial field goals. And so I think this is a big game for him. I think he's going to be able to step up. The weather can be concerning, so I don't know. I'm not going to bank that we're going to hit a 50-yard field goal. He missed one from 53 at home against Minnesota. It is windy to kick in the shoe, but again, we've never made one. He made a 49-yarder against Purdue, and it would have hit from 50, I think. Or actually, it was really close. But I think it maybe if you back up 3 feet, I think it would. But yeah, no, I am so excited for this game. I know I've just kind of been rambling, but there's just so much to talk about this game. The clash, and the reason why it's just the best rivalry, the clash of styles, the clash of passing versus running game. I would love Ohio State planting the flag. I have no problem with Michigan planting the flag. But I also don't have a problem with Ohio State fighting back. I want Ohio State to plant the Ohio State flag. Not Ohio State, the state of Ohio flag on their field if they win. I want them to tear down the Michigan Go Blue club sign. And I'm going to be honest, I heard some Michigan fans talking. I actually think they like that. They thought that was funny. I think genuine fans of the rivalry, they like that stuff. They enjoyed when, maybe they don't enjoy it, but they're not upset that Ohio State tore it down. No one's real fans of rivalry are not. We're upset they did it, but we don't want to ban it. And the person who wanted to make the flag planting a felony was a Toledo resident, which is a battleground city. Also, he was a graduate of the University of Michigan, the University of Scum. So take that for how you want it to be. Ohio State, very heavily favored in this game. And I think Ohio State's going to win. I'm going to predict. What do I want to predict? I will say Ohio State 27-10. I think Ohio State will be up something like 14-3, 14-3 at halftime. Michigan will score. It'll be 14-10. Ohio State will score, be 21-10. And then maybe kick 2 field goals, and that's how you get to 27-10. So I'm gonna say Buckeyes to win, to cover, to break the streak. Alabama 9-2, 6-1 in the SEC coming into this game. A win, you are guaranteed to the SEC championship and to the playoff. Auburn 5-6, 1-6 in the SEC. Their only SEC win came against Arkansas, and they need a win in this game to make a bowl game. Obviously, Hugh Freeze already been fired, I think, right? He's been fired. Yeah, they fired that man. So there's not as much in this game as for maybe some other rivalries like maybe Ohio State, Michigan, Oregon, some other teams. But again, Bama needs to win this game to make the playoff. This game is going to be, I think, the first, maybe not the first time ever, but it seems like what I've heard, this, and at least in a long time, this is the first time this is a night game. Usually this game starts at 3:30, and since it's late in the year, the second half is in total darkness. This is going to start in the dark. And this is also this is good for this rivalry. This is a standalone game. Usually with it being 3:30, this game is there's other games happening with it, and there's other games after it and before. No. A lot of the good rivalry games have been pushed to Friday, which I think I don't think they did that well. I feel like they put too many good games like Texas A&M on Friday, and then on Saturday there's only the Iron Bowl. And let's say Bama blows out Auburn like they always do, or sometimes do. Let's say this isn't a good game. There's not really nothing else to watch. Like there's not really. I mean, there's Notre Dame Stanford at night, but no one wants to watch that. But so yeah, let's talk about some of the matchups coming in this game. So Ty Simpson, the starting quarterback for the Crimson Tide, 237 at 354. I think that's like a 63% completion rate. 2 touchdowns to 4 interceptions. This was like his statistic was crazy a couple weeks ago. It was like 21-0. He throws, I think, an interception or 2 against Oklahoma, and then I think it was only 1. And then he throws 2 interceptions and no touchdowns against, I think it was Eastern Illinois. Yes. Which obviously it's not like, well, Ty Simpson's bad. He threw 2 interceptions versus Eastern Illinois and none in SEC, or only 1 or 2 in SEC play. No, that's stupid. But again, just not a good performance. Maybe, obviously, his Heisman campaign has slowed down. He probably won't be in New York, which is fine. And if I were him, I would come back for another year. Same with some, like, Dante Moore and Fernando Mendoza maybe have played themselves to go to the draft. But even if for them, especially Dante, I would like if they stayed another year. I think maybe Fernando's a senior maybe. I don't know. But yeah, Ty Simpson, I think 100% should come back for another year. And yeah, so he's been good. Jam Miller, the running back, very disappointing. Only rushing around 4 yards per carry, only has 3 touchdowns. Bama's run game has been terrible. They're not able to run the ball at all. They've really struggled with this, and it's why Ty Simpson has almost had to become Superman and put the team on his back every single week. He is not really getting any help from his running game, which is why they lost to Oklahoma. That was a bad matchup for them. That defensive line completely neutralized Alabama's running game, which allowed Ty Simpson to have to throw every time, which led to a pick 6, having to throw on 3rd and 4th down every single time, which allowed them to kind of lay back into coverage and zone and cloud and kind of confused the picture for Ty Simpson, which led to incompletions and interceptions, which is why they lost that game. That is not at all what they'll be facing versus Auburn. Yes, it is a rivalry game on the road at night. Jordan Hare, obviously, black magic, voodoo magic. We know. We all know what this game is, what this game means. But this is a good matchup for Alabama and almost everywhere. Auburn's offense and defense is terrible. If you look at their past 5 games, I mean, you allowed 17 to Mercer. You should be allowing 0. You allowed 45 to Vanderbilt. You only put up 3 on Kentucky. You allowed 24 to Arkansas, and you only put up 17 against Missouri. And you lost all those games except for Arkansas and Mercer. So, you bring in the offseason for Auburn, you bring in Jackson Arnold from Oklahoma, and we all knew it was going to be a disaster because he was a disaster at Oklahoma. He turns out to be a disaster. Then you eventually start Deuce Knight for a game. Did he start for Mercer? He started for a game. Yeah, against Mercer. And he played okay. He played well. Did he start against Vanderbilt? No, Ashton Daniels. So I think Ashton Daniels is going to be starting against this game. I don't know. I felt like Deuce Knight was pretty good. It is Mercer, but he didn't throw interception. I mean, I don't know. He's the 5-star freshman. So maybe you'll see more of him next year. But yeah, running game for Auburn, they're better at running the ball than Bama. But again, yeah, good matchup for Bama. They kind of outrun everywhere. And if you're able to stop this run game for Auburn, which you will, you're going to force them to throw, not make them play clean, get to the quarterback. And I think that's how you disrupt this game. That's how I think you make it a 2-possession game going into half. And I think that's how you pulled away in the second half. So let me see if there's any other stats for these games. So for Bama, this is super interesting. And if you've not really paid attention to Alabama, which, I mean, some have, some haven't. Ryan Williams, where have you been? I mean, like, sounds like he got lost in the edit. There were so many edits made about this guy. He was on the cover, all the hype. And then he's really just not had the year he's wanted. You know, maybe it's an injury. Usually when you talk about players stepping up or regressing, you have to give it 2 years. He only is a true sophomore. You know, he's only 18 years old. I know they love to talk about his age. But yeah, he has really taken a back seat to Jeremy Bernard, who has really stepped up as wide receiver 1. Both have similar receptions, with Ryan Williams only at 40, Jeremy Bernard having 48. Jeremy Bernard has around 100 more yards more than Ryan Williams. Ryan Williams has just struggled with drops. He's only had 4 touchdowns. Bernard has had 6. Isaiah Horton has stepped up as, you know, that wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3. So, I mean, I know they trust Ryan Williams. It has just been, I don't know, maybe it's a distraction thing. There seem to be a lot of distractions in the offseason. He's a kid. I mean, he's just a kid. So give it another year if you want to hop off the Ryan Williams train. Also, I think the fact that he was being compared to Jeremiah Smith early in his career, and it seemed to be very even, and then Jeremiah Smith just took off. And I just stopped making the comparison to Jeremiah Smith. That man is one of one. He's the best college receiver I think we've probably maybe seen ever, or since Randy Moss. He might be one of the best to ever do it in that top. He's going to be in the conversations with, like, it's going to be Jerry Rice, Randy Moss, Terrell Owens, Antonio Brown, Larry Fitzgerald, and Jeremiah Smith. I mean, Justin Jefferson. I mean, he's going to be in the all-time greats conversation, hopefully. I really hope he does, and I hope he gets with a decent quarterback. You look at Marvin Harrison Jr. and how that he's really struggling with that. But I'm getting sidetracked. I'm talking about Ohio State. I'm sorry. You didn't watch here to talk about Ohio State. Alabama. Yeah. So Ryan Williams, maybe you could see a step-up game. Let me see. Has he been productive at all recently? Where is Ryan Williams? There you are. Let's look at his past couple of games. So, against Eastern Illinois, got 1 catch for 25 yards. They pulled him instantly. OU, 3 for 45, 3 for 33 against LSU and a touchdown, 7 for 72 against South Carolina, and 5 for 87. Again, just not really. And we kind of saw, even back at the Florida State game, the first game of the year for the Tide, it looked different. It looked different. Talking about Auburn, Cam Coleman has really been how do I say this? A shine and a lot of rust. I'll say that. He is the only good thing about this team. He currently has 682 receiving yards, 5 touchdowns, 52 receptions, 13.1 receiving yards per reception on average. He's only a true sophomore. Remember, he had that incredible freshman year last year with the likes of Jeremiah Smith and Ryan Williams. His catch radius is insane. His acrobatic catches are crazy. Kind of reminds me of Keon Coleman, the Florida State guy, not the Bills, but I think he's probably going to be better than Keon Coleman. But, I mean, okay, now we got to get to the matchup of the game. I don't like this for Auburn at all. I get the 5.5-point spread. It's going to be on the road. I thought about picking Auburn in the preseason just because, you know, it's fun. You know, I'm going to pick Auburn to beat Alabama in the preseason, but I can't do it. The over-under is 46.5. That means, what are they predicting? So 46 minus 5 divided by 2, 20. So they're predicting like 26-20. I don't think Auburn's putting up 20 on Alabama. Auburn's offense was better Well, who was their quarterback? It was oh my God, what was his name? Oh my God, he was absolutely garbage. What was Auburn's quarterback last year? What was his name? Oh my God, I can't remember. 2024 Auburn quarterback, Peyton Thorne. Oh my God, Peyton Thorne. Well, he's not gonna be playing this game. So maybe they'll put up more than 14 and not allow more than 30 billion. But yeah, I'm going to go for the Tide. I'm going to say something like Alabama 28, Auburn 6. I think the Tide crush Auburn. I'll say it'll be a 14-6 game at half. Auburn will probably get the ball in the second half and be like, well, they could tie this one up. And then they throw in interceptions, and it's 21-6 going into the fourth, and then it's 28-6, and it's, oh my God. So I'll say Alabama 28-6. So this is the first or the final real test of Texas A&M's schedule in the regular season. They'll be facing their rival Texas, who comes into this game 8-3, 5-2 in the SEC, likely out of the playoffs. If they want to have any chance, they have to hope for chaos and obviously get a win. So matchup predictor in this game, 51.5% for Texas. It's a very even game. It is in Austin, and that's, I think, where the 2.5 for Texas A&M comes in. Even on the road, they are favored by 2.5, and neutral site would probably be like a 5.5 spread. At, I guess, if it was at A&M, it would be probably around a touchdown spread. So let's talk about some of the matchups coming into this game. So starting off with, let's do Texas first. So Arch Manning, 2,763 passing yards, 23 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. He's also been decent on the ground. I think he has 7 rushing touchdowns. That's actually their leader for all rushing touchdowns. Their number one running back, Contravion Wise, only has 3 rushing touchdowns. Their running back room only has 5 total touchdowns for the whole year. So they can't run the ball. Texas cannot run the ball in this game. Arch has their leading touchdowns, so 7 rushing touchdowns. Their leading receiver, Ryan Wingo, with 6 touchdowns. Livingston also has 6, and then DeAndre Moore with 4. Livingston really came in clutch for Texas early in the season. Seems like Ryan Wingo has kind of stepped into that wide receiver 1 role for them. And so, yeah, that's for Texas. On the defensive side, Anthony Hill has been in and out. Michael Daff has been in and out from the game because of injuries. Sounds like they'll be somewhat healthy coming into this game. For Texas A&M, Marcel Reed, 2,752 passing yards, 25 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. Still kind of in the Heisman race. I would not say he necessarily is. But I say he has a little bit of a Heisman chance. He would have to win this game, do well in the SEC championship, have Ohio State lose, and then probably have Michigan win the Big Ten, and that's probably how you would have a chance for Marcel Reed. So you need a lot of chaos to happen. Ruben Owens, the running back, he has 99 carries for 5 touchdowns, 570 yards on the ground. Concepcion, their wide receiver, with 52 receptions, 9 touchdowns, 829. Mario Craver, their other receiver, let's see how much he has. He has 781 with 4 touchdowns. And then actually, Bethel Roman actually has more touchdowns. I think he's their wide receiver 3 with 5. But obviously that duo of Concepcion and Craver has been deadly. The commonality between these two teams is the lack of defense. Texas has... coming into the year, they had the number 1 or number 2 defense with them in Penn State, and then maybe Ohio State, maybe Georgia, maybe Oregon, maybe Alabama. But Texas' defense has been very inconsistent, especially lately. You look at their last 5 games, they only allowed 13 points. That was against Kentucky. And then ever since then, it has been disastrous. 38 points to Mississippi State. 31 points to Vanderbilt. That was 21 unanswered in the fourth quarter. 35 to Georgia. 37 to Arkansas. Their defense is absolutely failing. And same thing with Texas A&M. Last 5 games, 42 to Arkansas, 25 to LSU, 17 to Missouri. So a little bit better. 30 in the first half to South Carolina. Obviously, they didn't score at all in the second half. They should have, but 30 points in the first half. So both of these two teams' defense has really just not been there. If we're talking about talent-wise, I would still say the talent for Texas is better than the talent for Texas A&M, especially on the defense. And just overall, I think Texas is a more talented team, but they have just not really been able to put it together. Arch struggling in the first 2 games against Ohio State and Florida. If he just plays fine in the Florida, if you had Arch Manning now and he played earlier, you probably still lose to Ohio State, but you probably beat Florida. Now you're a 2-loss team, and this is a playoff eliminator game. A&M should probably have 2 losses. They probably should have lost to like Arkansas or Notre Dame or South Carolina. So I think these two teams are very similar. It's just Texas A&M is the more lucky version of what Texas is. Texas has not been the lucky team. They didn't get a botched extra point against Ohio State, kind of like what A&M had with Notre Dame. They didn't have a terrible performance against Florida and then get out in the second half, kind of like what A&M had. And also A&M has had a much easier SEC schedule. Texas still has beaten Vanderbilt and Oklahoma. They also beat, who else did they beat? I think that was it. Yeah, they haven't beat anybody else. But Oklahoma and Vanderbilt were 2 top 10 teams, and Georgia obviously was on the road. So what I think this matchup comes to is really who can get a stop and who can play cleaner. Marcel Reed, I think, had 3 he only played the first quarter of last week against Samford, but against South Carolina, he had 2 first half interceptions, and honestly, he probably should have had 5 or 6 interceptions. South Carolina was just dropping him over and over again, but still had 2 in the first. Embarrassing performance. And honestly, if you're asking me, like, Texas has not really been lucky. They've been a little lucky against Mississippi State, but they've kind of gone through it, and A&M has kind of gotten away with a lot. And I don't know if I can see A&M go 12-0. So I think if there is any game to get Texas A&M, I think it's this game. I think this game is not going to be super low scoring. I don't think it's going to be super high scoring either. I think Texas defense probably steps up in this game, and I could see this game being tied at half, or maybe Texas is up. Maybe A&M takes the lead. It's a little bit of back and forth in the second half, probably in the upper 20s, lower 30s. And so for the spread, for the over-under, for 51.5, I'm trying to think. So that's like mid-20s. I would probably take the over barely. I think, I don't know. I could see, these are like the games, like, well, their defense has been bad, and then they play good for one game. You're like, whoa, I don't know. Last year, I think A&M didn't score a single offensive point. I think it was 17-7. Their only point came from a pick 6. And then Texas scored 17. So that was at A&M. Obviously a different year. Texas has not been great, and A&M has been really good. But it's a rivalry game. Texas isn't really playing. They are trying to play to get into the playoffs. And they haven't really been, they've been challenged, but they haven't had to face a loss. And if you're asking me, I think Texas does it. Freaky Friday night. I think Texas beats Texas A&M. If you're asking for my prediction, I would say probably something like Texas 28, A&M 25. I think maybe 31-29, something like that. I will go with Texas 30, Texas A&M 27. That's going to be my percentage, or maybe 27. I'll say 30-27, Texas wins, take the over. They cover by the hook. Or actually, no, they're not favored, so they would just cover either way. So, yeah, I'm going to take Texas to win. I think it's not probably enough to get Texas into the playoff. I think it's a step closer, and also I predicted that they were probably going to lose this game for a while, which is why I think the SEC championship is going to probably be Bama versus Georgia rematch. I think Texas A&M probably loses, so I'm going to pick Texas to win at home. Analytically, they're favored by a little bit, but yeah, Sark improves to 9-3. Probably not enough. A&M will fall to 11-1, probably helping them. They have locked up probably hosting a playoff spot, maybe even still a bye. I probably wouldn't count on it. Probably hosting a playoff game, probably maybe as the 5 seed, depending on what Texas Tech does in the Big 12 championship game. And obviously they still got to play this weekend against West Virginia. But yeah, that I'm going to pick Texas 30-27. Oh, the number 4 team in the country will be heading to their backyard this time to play Georgia Tech. It's not going to be in Bobby Dobbs Stadium because of contracts reasons. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But this will be our Friday 3:30 game as the NCAA has pushed a lot, and the TV contracts have pushed a lot of these rivalry games to Friday. That is the Egg Bowl, Georgia Tech, and the Lone Star State rival between Texas and Texas A&M. Those will all be Friday night or Friday games. This is our 3:30 game. So, Georgia Tech coming off of the loss to Pitt. They are now ranked the 23rd team in the country, likely out of playoffs. Maybe if they had a dominant win over Georgia, they would be 10-2, and they would need some chaos to happen to then get into the ACC championship. And then if they won, so it's very small chance of that to happen, but it is a possibility. So let's talk about some of the stats coming into the game. So let's start off with Georgia. Georgia is 10-1. They're second in the SEC. This win or loss will not change their path to the SEC championship because it is a non-conference game. If they're wanting to get into the SEC championship, they're going to need either Alabama or Texas A&M to lose a game. They don't need to worry about Ole Miss because they beat Ole Miss. Gunnar Stockton, 2,465 passing yards in this game, 19 touchdowns to 4 interception. He has the third highest QBR. That is behind, I'm pretty sure, Julian Sand and Jaden Maiava. Nate Frazier has been very good for them. Zachariah Branch, the transfer from USC, the receiver, he's been okay. He only has 638 receiving yards, but also Georgia's never had a 1,000-yard receiver ever. Or I think they've only had one. So, I mean, not super surprising. So, on the Georgia Tech side, this is where it gets a little more interesting. So, Haynes King, Heisman hopeful. Haynes King, same with Gunnar Stockton. He has 2,516 passing yards, 12 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, but 883 rushing yards for 15 rushing touchdowns. I think he has 3 or 4 fumbles. They are currently 4th in the ACC, so again, not likely they're going to get into the playoff at all, even if they win. There could be some chaos situations where that could happen. But with the actual game, the spread is 13.5 favoring Georgia over-under at 59. So predicting a little bit of a pointsy game. I think this game will be really pointsy. I think it's going to get up there in probably the 30s, or at least the high 20s. I feel like someone's going to get into the 40s. And the question for this game is really the defense. Which defense can get a stop? I would put my faith in with Kirby Smart in Georgia, but their defense has not really been great against good offenses. Obviously, they put the brakes on Texas, only allowing 10 points. That was probably their best defensive performance. But 21 to Mississippi State, 20 to Florida, 35 to Ole Miss, 21 or 24 to Bama, 41 to Tennessee. So they have been very inconsistent on the defense. It has gotten better recently. I cannot say the same for Georgia Tech. Their defense is absolutely abysmal. I mean, look at these points. 42 to Pitt, 34 to Boston College, 48 to NC State, 16 to Syracuse, 18 to Duke. That's where it kind of got a little bit better. 20 to Virginia Tech, 29 to Wake Forest, and then 20 to Colorado. So their defense has been absolutely horrible. And if they kind of just took care of business over lesser teams like NC State, then they would probably be playoff ready already because this is a non-conference game. It doesn't look like it's going to happen. If you didn't know, this game is going to be played in Mercedes-Benz Stadium. If you don't know why, and it's the dumbest, if you could think of the dumbest reason why, that is why. And of course, it's TV contracts and money. Georgia Tech is required from the contract that they signed to play at least one home game in Mercedes-Benz Stadium. This year, they chose that to be Georgia. That should be the only time this is going to happen. Next year, it'll be back in Athens, and the year after that, which would be 2027, it'll be in Bobby Dobbs Stadium for Georgia Tech. So, again, money grab. We see it all the time. It is unfortunate because this game was absolutely electric last year, going into 8 overtime. Georgia pulls out 44-42 in 8 overtime after being down 17-0 at home at half. That game was insane. I did not think Georgia could come back. But of course they do. Keeps their season alive. I guess they would have still made the SEC championship. So I guess if they still would have won the SEC, they would have got it in, but they wouldn't have been the 2 seed. But yeah, so if looking at the Georgia side, if Georgia were to lose this game, you probably lose the right to host a playoff game, because if Bama wins, one thing, they're in the SEC championship either way. If they win, they will be ranked above you, even probably with a loss, because 10-2 and 10-3 with them having won over Georgia on the road, they'd probably be below Bama, probably be below Notre Dame, maybe Miami if Miami were to get in. It would be great to see Georgia versus Miami. I mean, that would be really cool for Carson Beck. And obviously it's a rivalry game. So there's a lot on the table, probably more for Georgia than for Georgia Tech. Obviously, you keep your slim chances alive if you are Georgia Tech. But for Kirby Smart to keep hosting a playoff game, and it's only been 1 year of the playoff, but last year for the playoff, all the road teams lost, and they are still looking for their first 12-team playoff win. They have not had a playoff win since winning the national title in 2022, which would have been, 3 years by now? So, yeah, I guess, yeah. So the keys for this game, like I said earlier, who can get a stop? Georgia, I think, will be able to run up and down on this Georgia Tech defense. But I also think if Haynes King plays well, they'll be able to slow down drives, elongate drives for them, and keep possessions away from Georgia. And I think that is the thing to keep Gunnar Stockton and Nate Frazier and Dylan Bell and Zachariah Branch out of the end zone, which will keep Georgia Tech alive. It'll also be able, if Haynes King can play well, to get on the ground, force Georgia to spy, force them to stack the box, and then that's when you can take a shot. Georgia Tech, not great throwing. Their leading receiver, Eric Rivers, he was the transfer from, I think, Illinois. Let me just make sure. Or maybe, no, he was at Memphis. He was a Memphis transfer. He only has 40 receptions for 536 receiving yards and a touchdown. If I want to, what else receiving touchdowns do they have? So for Georgia Tech, Isaiah Canyon has 4. Malik Rutherford has 3. And then you have some tight ends like Josh Beetham having 2. Dean Patterson, the receiver, having 2. So kind of spreading it around. But again, yeah, the biggest story for this game has to be the ground game for Georgia Tech. Will Haynes King be able to get past C.J. Allen, the All-American linebacker? I think that is a really interesting matchup to look for. I would look out for that one, and I don't know. I think this game can get really pointsy. Obviously, Haynes King, didn't they have another? I swear. So yeah, Haynes King is the receiver or the quarterback. Jamal Haynes. He is their other running back. He has 493 yards and 5 touchdowns. Is he hurt? I remember him. Thought maybe he's being hurt. Let me see if he's even playing, because that's also a big thing. Oh my God. Is he playing, yes or no? Well, no one wants to tell me. I'm assuming he's playing. I just don't know for sure. Malachi Hosley has really taken step as the RB1 this year. He has a lot more yards. Jamal Haynes is also, I think he's a senior, right? Yeah. Senior, 5 touchdowns. Only 4.5 yards per carry. Malachi Hosley has 7.5, so that's probably why. But yeah, I'm interested to see how Georgia Tech plays, because they've really not played clean the past couple of games. I mean, you got beat by Pitt, throw a pick 6. You should have lost to Boston College. You got blown out by NC State. And your last time you looked kind of good was against Syracuse. They're terrible. I guess, you beat Duke good. I mean, they're a decent team, but they lost to UConn. They're 5 losses, so I don't know. I think this game can get pointsy. I will probably pick Georgia, something like 45-27. I think 45-28, 45-27, 26. So I would take the over. I will be taking Georgia to win this game. So the next thing I want to talk about is Oregon on the road at Washington. So there is a lot of playoff implications for Oregon, not necessarily for Washington, after they took their 3rd loss against Wisconsin. So unfortunate for them. This could have been a game, if they were to win against Wisconsin, where this could have been a game where they win. I mean, you're 10-2, 6-2 in the Big Ten. I mean, you're potentially a playoff team. But with Oregon, a loss might mean you're out of the playoffs. Especially, it depends on Ohio State, Michigan. If Oregon wins and Ohio State loses, Oregon goes to the Big Ten Championship to rematch Indiana. If Ohio State loses and Oregon loses, then Michigan will play Indiana. If Ohio State loses, Oregon loses, and Indiana loses to Purdue, Ohio State will rematch against Michigan in the Big Ten Championship game. But with this game, Oregon 10-1, 7-1 in the Big Ten. When they're in loss, they're a fringe team. They could be the first team out. It really depends, especially since Washington's unranked, depending on the loss. It's on the road in Husky Stadium. It's a hard place to play. It's a 3:30 game. It's going to be on CBS. Washington is a 6.5-point underdog. Oregon around a touchdown favorite. So let's talk about some of the quarterbacks coming in this game. So Dante Moore, 23 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, 2,447 passing yards. He had a very good day last week. Had an interception, but had a couple touchdowns. Very efficient versus USC. They dismantled them, putting up 42 on that USC defense, who's actually been pretty good this year. So they really exploited that, and they really stopped the run. So Oregon's defense has really stepped up. They look like a team that is prepared. And I said this last week, they look playoff ready. So watch out for Oregon. Noah Whittington, the running back, has really stepped up. I mean, he's averaging around 7.5 yards per carry, 6 touchdowns. Kenyon Sadiq, who is their leading receiver. It's not Evan Stewart. He's out for the year. Decorian Moore, not Dante Moore. Decorian Moore, the 5-star freshman that flipped his commitment from Ohio State to Oregon. The freshman, is he out? He has not played for a while. Will Decorian Moore play against Washington? No, so he's not playing. So Oregon now down like 4 offensive linemen and down 2 of their top receivers. And that's really allowed Kenyon Sadiq, who is the best tight end in the entire country. I mean, honestly, I don't know him for sure, because I've done a lot of research on him. I would not be surprised if he was almost kind of like what a G. Scott was last year for Ohio State. He is a converted receiver. He looks like a receiver. He just looks like a big-ass receiver. He is so fun to watch. I mean, he is head-topping. Reminds me of Tyler Warren a lot from last year from Penn State. But for Washington, Damon Williams Jr. started really hot out in the year. Then they lost to Ohio State. And then they lost to Michigan. And then they lost. It's kind of just went downhill a little bit. But Damon Williams, one of the most electric quarterbacks in the country, a dual threat guy. Oregon should have good tape on how to contain him. Look at the Ohio State game with Arvell Reese. Obviously, I don't think Oregon has an Arvell Reese, but Tui Toi, is still a very productive, very good linebacker. But yeah, Damon Williams Jr., 2,721 passing yards, 19 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. Jonah Coleman, again, he's a little banged up. I think he's playing. I wish it would, because like with NFL games, it tells me if they're on injury reserve, if they're questionable or not. Will Jonah Coleman play against Oregon? Yeah, so he is playing. Okay, so he's playing. That's good. Denzel Boston, big receiver, 730 yards, 8 touchdowns. So if you remember this game in 2023, it was almost like a shootout. This game was fun. It was electric. It came down to a last-second field goal that Oregon missed to tie to go to overtime. Last year, this game was an absolute blowout. And in the preseason, I actually picked Washington to win this game. I picked Oregon going 10-2 with a loss to Penn State and Washington. They lose to Indiana instead. And almost lost to Iowa, and that seems like that's where the second loss should have come, or against USC. This is a big game. This, I guess, look, it's not their main rival since that's the Civil War, but I still do think that this is one of the biggest rivalries of the year. Actually, I don't even think this rivalry has a name to it. I think it's just like the Oregon-Washington rivalry. It's the two top dogs, kind of like Ohio State-Penn State. This is like the Pac-12's version of Ohio State-Penn State. So, if we're looking at the last 5 games, Washington's been very inconsistent. They only put up 7 on Michigan, then they put up 42 on Illinois. Then they only put up 10 on Wisconsin. Then they put up 49-48 against UCLA. So it is just back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. On the other hand, Oregon, 56 on Rutgers, 21 on Wisconsin. Remember, the Wisconsin game last year was really close. Then they won like 16-13. But this was bad weather game, and Dante Moore got knocked out of the game. Iowa only put up 18, only allowed 16. They put up 42 on Minnesota and USC. They did allow 27 to USC. USC has a good offense, though, so I'll kind of leave it at that. Oregon hasn't had great defenses, even though Dan Lanny's like a defensive guy. I think it's just the recruiting area. They don't have access to all the big guys. Even with NIL, they're still trying to catch up a little bit. Oregon, 6.5 point favorites. Over-under is at 52, so they're kind of predicting like a 28-22 game. And I think it could be like that. If you're asking me, I think Oregon wins and covers. I think Oregon's going to win by 14. I'll say 38-21. I think Oregon wins 38-21, which is a 17-point win. That's what I'm predicting for that game. The next game, Vanderbilt on the road at Tennessee. This is practically a playoff game for Vanderbilt. I wanted this to be a playoff game where both were 9-2 coming into this game. Tennessee losing to Oklahoma. They're already out with 3 losses. But Vanderbilt 14, fringe playoff team 10-2. Vanderbilt, their playoff hopes come obviously winning this game. They would also need Miami to lose. They would need Utah to lose another game. They would need Michigan to lose, because if Michigan wins, they will jump Vanderbilt. And then they need Texas Tech to beat BYU, and they need to probably sneak in as that 11th seed. So they need a lot to happen for them to get in. It's not impossible, just slim. Tennessee is favored analytically 57.6 to 42.4. Tennessee is a 2.5 point favorite. It opened at 3.5. It's climbed down to 2.5. Diego Pavia has been awesome this year. 224 of 312 attempts, 26 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, almost 3,000 yards passing, 661 rushing yards on 132 carries and 8 touchdowns. 132 carries for Diego Pavia. If you just look at Haynes King, the other rushing quarterback, he has 168 carries for 883 yards. So a little less than him, but still a ton. Eli Stowers, also one of the best tight ends in the country. He is their leading receiver with 705 yards, receiving yards, 4 touchdowns. For Tennessee, obviously, remember Tennessee lost Nico Iamaleava as he went to UCLA on the day of the spring game. I remember I was going to the Ohio State spring game, and we turned on the radio, 97.1 The Fan, and hearing Paul Keels talk about Nico Iamaleava going to UCLA, or I think at that point he left Tennessee. That was when he no-showed practice. I don't think he decided where he was going to go yet. But yeah, Bishop, the running back, has been productive. He had to step in for Dylan Sampson last year in the playoffs because he was hurt against Ohio State. Did not look great. Didn't really do anything. Not very productive. But he's seen this. He has now stepped into that starting role. Has really stepped up. Almost 1,000-yard rusher. Chris Brazel, who's been one of the best surprises out of the SEC this year. It's been like Diego Pavia, Trinidad Chambliss, and Chris Brazel. I don't know if he's made it. I think he just got eliminated in the Blitnikoff. I think the Blitnikoff is currently Jeremiah Smith, Malachi Lemon, and Skylar Thompson. The UConn, he's like the Triple Crown winner in all of like receiving yards, receptions, and touchdowns. If you think a UConn receiver should win it over Jeremiah Smith, I'm just not going to. I'm not going to get upset. But Chris Brazzell, 926 receiving yards and 8 touchdowns off of 56 receptions. So around, I'm trying to think, 20 yards per reception. So one of the best receivers in the SEC. The biggest thing with this game is it's defense, please. Defense, please. I'll give you my defensive lineman. I'll give you a Big Mac, please. Just do something. Coming into this year, I had Tennessee having the number 2 defense statistically, and I had LSU with the number 1 offense statistically, and it's been flopped. Both LSU's offense sucks, but their defense has been really good. Tennessee's defense is terrible, garbage, absolute garbage, but their offense has been really good. I mean, you look at the defense for Tennessee, 37 to Bama, 34 to Kentucky, 33 to OU. Only 11 to Florida, but you're beating a dead Florida. You allowed 44 to Georgia. So, it has just been not great. And it's not been better for Vanderbilt. 24 to LSU, that was good. 10 to Missouri, but that was when Brett Pabula got knocked out of the game. 34 to Texas, 38 to Auburn, and then 17 to Kentucky. So, the past couple weeks, they've done a little bit better, but the competition has really stepped down. What's the over-under for this game? 6-6, oh my God. 66 and a half. 6-7. Damn, that's a lot. Wait, no, that's actually a lot. So what are they predicting? So if it's 2.5, 66 minus 2 is 64. So they're predicting this one to be 34 to 32. That is what the analytics are predicting. So I will actually take the under. Usually these games that are predicted really high, I usually go under. I'll take the under. My prediction for this game, I'll say, I think Tennessee wins. I think Tennessee covers. I think Tennessee wins. Actually, no. I'll take Vanderbilt to cover. I think Tennessee wins 28-27. I think Tennessee wins 28-27. I think Vanderbilt misses a last-second field goal to win. I think Tennessee survives, and they get a 9-win season, another attempt at getting to another 10-win season if they were to win to a bowl game. As Josh Heupel's kind of been on this hot seat talk, but he's been the best thing to your program in a long time. So I would not fire Josh Heupel. Who are you gonna get? The teams that already fired their head coaches are like Penn State. They're gonna have to hire Brian Daboll. We'll see. Like, who is LSU gonna? I guess they're gonna Lane Kiffin. Who's Ole Miss gonna hire? Who's Florida gonna hire? John Summerall gonna leave? It sounds like he's not going to Florida. So I don't know. Utah's got to hire somebody as Kyle Whittingham's going to leave. So he's going to retire. Hopefully we all love Kyle Whittingham. So next game, and this is the game actually happening. This game actually might start off before this game kicks off. It starts in like 45 minutes. I don't think this video is going to get out after this game's already started. But the Egg Bowl. Lane Kiffin, what are you going to do, buddy? Are you going to leave? Are you going to stay? Oh my God, this story has been so funny. I'm going to release a separate video when he makes his decision. But man, Lane Kiffin, are you going to stay at LSU? Put this mic down. Are you going to stay at LSU or stay at Ole Miss and leave for LSU or go to Florida? Sounds like it's either going to be Ole Miss or LSU. I don't know. So Ole Miss, 6.5-point favorites. I think Joel Klatt called this the distraction bowl, which I 100% agree. Ole Miss is 78.4% chance to win. Mississippi State, much improved from last year. They were a 2-win team. Now they're at 5 wins, 1-6 in SEC. They need to win this game to go to a bowl game. They should already be bowl eligible. They should have won against Texas. They should have won against Florida. Or not Florida. Who do they? Tennessee. They should have won against Tennessee. But yeah, I don't know. If this was a regular season game, it's regular. If this was a regular game in the regular season, I might think about picking Mississippi State. But even with the distractions, it's still a rivalry game. It's on the road, which could be interesting. But I think Ole Miss wins. I think Ole Miss wins 24-21. I think Mississippi State covers, but I think Ole Miss survives. And then Lane Kiffin's really got a decision. His team will be 11-1. They're not going to make the SEC championship unless a lot of crazy stuff happens. And he's going to make a decision. Will I take my 11-1 team to the playoff for the first time ever? Or do I leave to go to a team that's kind of a disaster? LSU is a disaster right now. They are a disaster, and we'll talk about LSU in a second. But LSU only has 7 wins. They're probably going to go 7-5. They were 8-4 last year. They stepped back. They regressed from last year. Remember with all the seniors coming back? They regressed. They fired their coach, fired their president, fired their AD, and the Brian Kelly news where they're fighting without cause. That thing was a mess. Legal. I hate all that stuff. I'll take Ole Miss to win. The next game, we're talking about LSU. We're talking about them now. LSU at Oklahoma. Oklahoma's an 11.5 point favorite. I think they're going to drown LSU. Maybe not through the score, but statistically, I think they're going to out everything LSU by at least 150 yards. Oklahoma, 73.8% chance to win. Again, 11.5 point favorites. And you know what's crazy? They're at 11.5 point favorites. Do you know what the spread for the over-under for this game is? It's 36. This is going to be a low-scoring game. So what, 36 minus what is that? 25 divided by 2, 12 plus 20. So they think this game is going to be 23-12, which is what I honestly, I'm going to predict this game out 27-7. 24-7. I'm going to say Oklahoma's going to win 24-7. Michael Van Buren's been nice. He's been whatever. But ever since they've benched Garrett Nussmeier, which that was sad. You have Garrett Nussmeier go out there on his senior day at home, and he's not even playing. It's just sad. I wonder if they benched him or if he's just trying to get ready for the draft. It's probably a mix of both. I think that's probably he's just getting ready for the draft. Oklahoma, they need to win to get into the playoff. If they lost, major win for LSU. Keeping Oklahoma out of the playoff, which if Oregon lost, if they were 10-2, Oklahoma getting knocked out might let Oregon back in. That's going to be, I can't wait to see how kind of that, how that's all going to go down. But, I'm going to take Oklahoma to win. The next game, Miami at Pitt. Miami at Pitt. Mario Cristobal. You have a date with November in cold weather on the road. Mario Cristobal is 3-6 in November. I think 3-6 on the road. Or maybe just 3-6 in general. He's terrible in November. Miami's always terrible in November. They were terrible last year in November. They're terrible this year in November. Pitt's 8-3. If they win this game, they'll get to 9 wins, which is incredible after how last season kind of went. Starting 7-0, then losing 6 consecutive games to go 7-6. I mean, last year, that was a weird year for Pitt. They were devastated by injuries. They're better now. Eli Holston being benched for Mason Heinschel. Probably not going to be there next year for Pitt. But remember, Pat Narduzzi before the Notre Dame game said, we don't care about Notre Dame. We only care about the next 2 games. Well, they get destroyed by Notre Dame. They destroyed Georgia Tech. Now they got Miami at home. And Miami is notoriously bad in November on the road, especially in cold weather. The last time Miami, I think they were 9-2. They were on the road, and the weather for this game is like 30 degrees. It's like this is the second coldest game I think Miami history or in the past 20, 30 years or something. The last time it was this cold was on the road at Pitt, and they got demolished. And I think that could happen. So Miami is a 6.5 point favorite. For Pitt, if they win this game, they'll be 7-1 in the ACC. They will need, I think, Virginia and SMU to lose to get in. So they need a lot of stuff to happen for them to get to the ACC championship. Miami is not going to make the ACC championship, and they would need everybody to lose. Literally everybody to lose for them to even attempt to get in. So they have to get in as an at-large. which is why I don't think Miami's going to make the playoff. They're going to have to get into that same bubble with Notre Dame. And then that's like in 2014, you had, before championship week, it was Bama 1, Oregon 2, Florida State 3, I think. That was the top. Those were the top 3 teams. I think that was the order. Then you had, I think, you had the winner of TCU Baylor. I think you had TCU at 4, Ohio State 5, Baylor 6, because Baylor had just lost. Well, after the championship week, since in the final rankings, they're paired together, you have to honor the head-to-head. They flipped them. They put TCU all the way down, and I think it was, maybe it was the other way around, but they put the team that lost all the way down and the other team that won up to honor the head-to-head, and then that's why Ohio State got in the 4th seed. We won the national title. Hoorah, beat Alabama, beat Oregon. But so I won, that was 11 years ago. I don't know if they'll do that again, different committee, obviously. But I wonder if they'll try to honor the head-to-head between Miami and Notre Dame. I don't think they'll have to make that decision because I'm going to be honest, I think Pitt wins this game. I think Pitt's going to win. I think Pitt's going to beat Carson Beck. I think Mason Hineshaw is going to make a lot of money. He's going to make a lot of money in the transfer portal next year because of this game. They're going to look at this game and be like, wow, this true freshman stepped up halfway through the year and absolutely balled out and beat Miami and kept them out of the playoffs. So I think Pitt's going to win. I'll say they'll win 24-21. I think that's what I saw someone else predict the game, and I actually agree. I think they've lost 24-21 before. So I think they lose 24-21. So that's how I for that game. The last game, and actually it's a ranked game. This has been the hardest game for me to predict, if you can't believe that. And that's Arizona heading on the road to Arizona State. Arizona is a 1.5-point favorite as I'm recording this game. This game is very even analytically. Arizona State 51.3%. Noah Fafita back for his senior year. He's been great. 25 touchdowns to 5 interceptions. Sam Leavitt now out for the year. Looks like they're shopping him around. Him and Dylan Ryle look like they're getting shopped around the transfer portal right now. So Jeff Sims will step in again. He has been okay. 7 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. But I have picked Arizona State wrong all year. And I was thinking about picking Arizona. I'm like, you know what? I've picked Arizona State wrong. I was going to go with Arizona State. But then, Sam Leavitt's out. Yes, it's a home game, but Arizona, I have a strong affection for Arizona. Like, you look at the teams I like. It's like Ohio State's my main love. Then it's Kansas State 2, Arizona 3, Bowling Green 4, Ohio University 5. Like, so I have a strong affinity for Arizona. I really do. So I think I'm going to go chalk. And usually when I go chalk, it means I lose. So if I was being really smart, I'd probably go with Arizona State. Or do it. Should I just do it? Should I just pick Arizona State right now? No, they don't have Sam Leavitt. They don't have Sam Leavitt. I've always been on because they've had Sam Leavitt. They don't have Sam Leavitt. I'm going to stick with Arizona. I'll say they win 27-24 over the Sun Devils. So yeah, that is all for the games. If we go back to our predictor. Here, let me just bring up the board. I was the wrong one. So, I got Ohio State over Michigan, Texas over Texas A&M. A&M fans were not happy about that. Georgia over Georgia Tech, Bama over Auburn, Tennessee over Vanderbilt, Oklahoma over LSU, Pitt over Miami, Oregon over Washington, Ole Miss over Mississippi State, and Arizona over Arizona State. The interesting thing about this is look at all the favorites. They're all on the road. The only 2 home favorites right now is Tennessee and Oklahoma. Everyone else is on the road. So I think this week could be stellar. One last thing before I get out of here. I know this video is like the longest video I've ever done. But it's Rivalry Week, and we care about Rivalry Week. Hold on. Can't even really see it. It's kind of cut off. 1 day, 35 minutes, and 5 seconds till the game. I hope you guys all enjoyed watching the Hot Seat College Football Show as my Buckeyes will take on the scumbag of the universe, the Michigan Wolverines. Remember, hit subscribe. We're so close to 50 subs. Turn on the notification bell so you get a notification every single time I release a new video. Leave a comment down below. Who do you think is going to win? Is your team going to win or lose? Let me know, and I will see you guys all on Sunday after the whistle as we cover all these games, and I'll see you then. Thank you.